You know that feeling when money stress doesn't hit all at once, but kind of creeps up on you? It's not a dramatic crisis. Nothing is technically on fire. It's just uncomfortable. Your balance is lower than you expected, a bill cleared early, something you forgot about finally posted, and suddenly you're doing that quiet mental math where you're not even adding numbers anymore. You're just hoping they work out. Maybe you're at an ATM late at night, or standing in line somewhere, phone in hand, refreshing your banking app like it might magically update itself, and you realize you don't really need a lot of money, you just need some cash, just enough to get through the next few days. Your credit card is right there. And that moment, that tiny pause between stress and relief, is where one of the most profitable systems in modern banking quietly does its work. I spend way too much time thinking about money, personal finance, and the strange emotional pressure baked into everyday financial decisions. Not the exciting stuff, not investing headlines or millionaire routines. I mean the boring, invisible mechanics that only show up when someone's already tired, already stressed, already a little overwhelmed. Cash advances live right there. They're not loud, they're not flashy, they don't get talked about much, and yet they generate billions of dollars for banks every single year, mostly from people who never thought they were making a big financial decision at all. What makes cash advance fees so effective isn't greed or irresponsibility, it's timing and design and psychology. And once you really see how it all fits together, it becomes very hard to look at your credit card the same way again. On paper, a cash advance sounds simple, almost harmless. You're borrowing money from your credit card in cash form. That's it. It's framed as flexibility, as access, as something that's there just in case. And honestly, that framing matters a lot. Because when people think of credit cards, they usually think of purchases, groceries, gas, a subscription they forgot to cancel, stuff that comes with a grace period, stuff where interest feels distant and avoidable. Cash advances don't work like that, at all. The moment you take the cash, interest starts ticking, not next month, not after a statement closes, immediately, daily, relentlessly. And the interest rate is almost always higher than your normal credit card APR. So even before anything goes wrong, the debt is already growing. And here's where things quietly get worse. Most cash advances come with an upfront fee, usually a percentage of the amount you withdraw. And there's often a minimum fee too, just in case you thought taking out less money would protect you. So you might take out a few $100s and owe more than that before you even leave the ATM. Then there's the ATM fee itself, and then the interest, and then the way payments are applied, often toward lower interest balances first, which means the most expensive debt just sits there, accumulating, while you think you're doing the right thing by making payments. None of this feels dramatic in the moment. It feels technical, boring, easy to miss. And that's kind of the point. Banks love cash advances because they're clean. From a business perspective, they're almost perfect. There are no rewards to pay out, no merchants involved, no delays, no complicated logistics, just instant high-interest lending that activates exactly when people are least likely to read the fine print. And banks know when cash advances are most commonly used. Late nights, emergencies, travel problems, unexpected expenses. Moments where your brain isn't thinking long-term, it's thinking, I just need this problem to go away. That's not an accident, that's behavioral design. Almost nobody plans to rely on cash advances. People don't sit down and say, you know what would really help my finances? A loan with immediate interest and extra fees. It always starts with just this once, just until payday, just until this bill clears, just to get through a rough patch. And psychologically, that matters, because once you cross that line one time, the card becomes something else. It's no longer just a payment tool, it's a cash source. And once that mental switch flips, it's very easy to flip it again. What's especially uncomfortable is how invisible this can all be. Certain transactions, certain apps, money transfers, gambling-related purchases get coded as cash-like transactions without people realizing it, which means the fees and interest show up later, quietly, when the statement arrives. By then, the damage is already done. And this is where the real money is made, not from the person who takes out a small cash advance once and pays it back immediately. That person barely registers. The real profits come from repetition. A few $100s here, another advance a month later, another one when something else goes wrong. Each one stacks on top of the last. Each one starts accruing interest immediately, and suddenly the balance never really settles. It just hovers, grows, lingers. You can make payments and still feel like you're treading water. And over time, people stop scrutinizing the details. They stop trying to fully understand the statement. They just see a number that feels heavy and permanent. Banks don't need people to default for this system to work. They just need people to stay slightly overwhelmed, slightly behind, slightly unsure. That's enough. Cash advances also hit certain people harder than others, and that's worth sitting with for a moment. Students, gig workers, people living paycheck to paycheck, people without savings buffers. Not because they're careless, but because they have fewer options. When you don't have an emergency fund, every unexpected expense feels urgent, and urgency is expensive. Cash advances are framed as empowerment, as access, as flexibility, but in reality, they function more like a toll road that only appears when you're already lost. You can take it, it will get you where you need to go, but it's going to cost you, and once you're on it, getting off isn't easy. What's kind of unsettling is that this system doesn't generate outrage. There's no scandal, no dramatic collapse, just a steady revenue quietly extracted through fine print and timing. From a purely technical standpoint, it's incredibly efficient. Low marketing costs, high margins, predictable behavior, and all of it built around moments when people are stressed, tired, or emotionally depleted, which is most of us at some point. The good news, and there is good news, is that this system loses a lot of power once you see it clearly. Understanding that cash advances aren't just another feature, but a fundamentally different and much more expensive form of debt changes how you think in those stressful moments. It buys you a pause, and that pause matters. Building alternatives before you need them matters too. Even a small emergency fund can completely change the equation, not because it covers everything, but because it gives you time. Time to think, time to choose, time to avoid panic decisions. If you already have a cash advance balance, the math is unfortunately pretty clear. It's one of the rare situations where prioritizing one type of debt aggressively actually makes sense, because the interest doesn't wait. It doesn't care how responsible you're trying to be. And maybe the most important shift is this: questioning financial products that only feel helpful when you're under pressure. If something only makes sense when you're stressed, rushed, and scared of immediate consequences, that's not a safety net. That's a trap door. Cash advances aren't evil, they're not scams, they're not hidden, they're just carefully optimized. Optimized for human behavior, optimized for emotional decision-making, optimized for moments when people want relief more than clarity. And once you understand that, something interesting happens. You stop blaming yourself quite as much. You stop feeling confused by why balances grow so fast. You start recognizing that a lot of financial pain isn't about personal failure. It's about predictable outcomes of very intentional design. You don't need to be perfect with money. You don't need to avoid every mistake. You just need to understand the few systems that are designed to quietly work against you when you're not paying attention. And honestly, that alone puts you further ahead than most people ever realize. Thanks for watching our video. Like and subscribe our channel for more informative videos. Don't forget to press the bell icon and get notification of new videos.